I've been pretty adamant about that we need to adhere to the platform and honor our U.S. and Idaho Constitution.
Idaho's primary election will give us a pretty good idea of the direction of Idaho's majority party. Now on the News at 10, we'll have all the results as they come in. Plus, the aunt of Chad Daybell's deceased wife, Tammy, explains why the testimony during Chad's triple murder trial has been difficult to listen to. And what would push someone toward joining an extremist group? That answer from someone who spent time at the Aryan Nations compound in North Idaho in part 2 of our series about extremism here in Idaho. The News at 10 starts now. Well, all the ballots have been turned in, and now it's time for the tabulation. We're getting updated results for the 2024 Idaho primary election as we speak, and there is a lot to keep track of. On the ballot this year, both of Idaho's U.S. House of Representatives, or House Representatives, I should say, the entire Idaho legislature, county offices, and dozens of funding proposals out there. You can see some of those races. They will be listed on the bottom of your screen as we get through the newscast. But before we get into specifics on the races we're watching, let's check in with News Channel 7's Abby Davis, who is live at the Ada County Elections Office. How are things going down there tonight, Abby?
Brian, it is busy. You can just see the hustle and bustle behind me as all of the election workers, well, they have their specific jobs, their assignments. They are very busy. Right now, all of the ballots are coming in from the various precincts. They're getting dropped off. They're being sorted and counted. I want to bring in Ada County Clerk Trent Triple. Trent, let's talk numbers really fast. 41,000 people have voted in this election today in Ada County. That's about 22% of voter turnout. How are you guys feeling about those numbers? Are they lower, higher than usual?
They are trending lower than previous elections of like manner. 2 years ago, we had about a 30% turnout, so they are slightly lower across the board in absentee early voting and election day.
Why is that?
It's hard to tell. Obviously, when you look at the ballots, there's many different ballot styles, but many of them had uncompetitive races on them. But there are some hot spots in the county. Out in Starr, there was some bond and levies on the ballot, as well as some hotly contested races where we had some higher than normal turnout in some of those areas like LD10.
Before this interview, we were chatting a little bit about how things have gone. You say things have gone pretty smoothly, aside from a couple of hiccups. If you could explain those, that would be great.
Yeah, you bet. Every election we have a few things that just don't go as planned. This one, it's like manner. There are some precincts where some processes were out of the normal. But we're not concerned about that. Again, with the paper ballot, we are able to scan some of those ballots back here at the central location here and not worry about what happened at the precinct. So we're not worried. It happens every election. But overall, it was a very smooth election for us.
Of course, want to touch on election transparency and integrity, a big hot button topic over the last couple of years. At Ada County, you guys are really kind of on the cutting edge, coming up with some new technology. One is a ballot verifier tool. So after the elections, it's not out yet, but very soon people after elections can go online. They can check out all of the ballots for themselves, see how people checked their boxes. Why is that so important to you guys?
Well, obviously, over the last several years, the narrative around elections has been questioning the integrity of the process. We felt it was necessary to put all of that information out there so citizens can verify for themselves that the ballots that are being cast are being counted properly. And so this is just our way of becoming as transparent as humanly possible for everyone to be able to look at those ballots themselves.
Thanks so much for your time, Trent. We really appreciate it. This was Ada County. I want to briefly touch about Canyon County numbers. If we can show the viewers at home at the tabulation room. This is from the live stream over in Canyon County. You can see what's going on. You can watch for yourself online. The spokesperson told me they have about 26,000 people that have voted, 23% voter turnout. That's pretty typical for what they see over there. And Brian, the night is still young for all of these workers. I'm told that both in Ada and Canyon counties, they'll be here until about midnight wrapping things up.
Yeah, that turnout trend for Ada County right now is trending a little low, and statewide over the last couple of years has been about 25, 26, even 32%. So we'll keep an eye on that as we get through the evening as well. Thank you very much, Abby. This primary election is going to do a lot to determine the direction of the Republican Party. Key races could change the makeup of the state house, and even those races at the bottom of the ballot have gotten a lot of attention lately. Andrew Bartline is at the GOP watch party in Garden City, the supermajority in the state of Idaho, the Republican Party, where every state house seat is up for grabs. Andrew?
Yeah, and it's sort of an interesting vibe, as you can imagine, people running against each other that they're in this same room as. Now we're here with Speaker Mike Moyle right now, who's in a very interesting race. A lot of out-of-state money are coming in against you, but your numbers are looking good right now.
Yeah, we're feeling good about it. The numbers are looking good, but the amount of money spent in this primary is crazy. All this out-of-state money should concern everybody in Idaho. We need to figure out a way to at least make it more transparent so we know where it's coming from and who's spending it, because this is not a good thing.
And you seem to be a primary target of a lot of this, but on the other side of the rotunda, it's Senate Pro Tem Chuck Winder. His numbers not trending as favorably as yours right now.
Yeah, we've been blessed. His are a little behind. And we're early. It's early in the night. We'll see how things trend, but it was the same issue there. The out-of-state money and the lies and misinformation by these guys needs to stop.
Now, your position isn't exactly with the private GOP party. You're an elected official, but the party has seen some splitting, some disagreement in it, and these precinct committeeman positions getting a lot of attention on maybe redirecting what some Republicans would like to see in the party.
Well, and you know, the party is always shifting, right? And that's a good thing. And having the vote and the republic that we live in is a good thing to have the vote. But we need to be careful when we do it that we don't get so negative like you saw this last time, where we start eating our own. That worries me. We can have our disagreements and let's have our votes, but let's after that work together and move forward. We don't need to destroy ourselves.
Yeah, going forward, the party, the state house, you're a leader. If you go back, what is your agenda?
Well, if you've watched me as speaker, I've tried to unite both sides of the party, you know, because you got both factions. There's several factions, more than two. I try to unite them. Everybody should have a voice, and we should work together to solve solutions. If I go back, I'll continue to do that. I'll try to unite everybody, and I hope the party does the same. When these races are over, we need to all go out, shake hands, and do what's best for the state of Idaho.
Excellent. Last piece before I let you go. Not every election turns out the way you might want on a personal basis. The day after, how does that party unify move forward?
You got to put those feelings behind and look at the bigger cause, right? We're all here to do what's best for the state of Idaho and the citizens here, and you got to put that away and do what's right. And it's hard, it really is. But the people that are here that are running, they can do it.
Appreciate your time, Speaker Moyle.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you. Enjoy the night. Get back to Star safely. We'll throw it back to you at the station, Brian, where I know there's a lot of races we're keeping a close eye on.
A couple there. It is interesting that the leaders in both chambers at the State House are facing challenges tonight. So for those results, some of those races we mentioned, Chuck Winder and Mike Moyle, as you just heard. Let's check in with Joe Paris. He's over at the touchscreen tonight to kind of get us updated on what races we're watching tonight and some interesting ones.
Yeah, it is. Andrew and Speaker Moyle just talked about millions and millions of dollars are coming into the state of Idaho for major races and specifically leadership positions. The House Speaker, Mike Moyle, the Senate Pro Tem, Chuck Winder. Let's take a look, though, at Speaker Moyle's race, who we just heard from. As you can see here, early returns. Again, this is only a handful of the reports coming in. The early report does have Mike Moyle leading his challenger, Rachel Haslip. And this is a very big campaign in the sense that millions and millions of dollars have come into Idaho to make an institutional change. Let's also take a look across the rotunda. The leader in the Idaho Senate, the Senate Pro Tem, currently it's Chuck Winder, but he does find himself behind to his challenger, Josh Kaiser. This is a very tense race coming out of Meridian, a lot on the line. Winder has been the Senate Pro Tem, the leader of the Senate for several years. So if he or Mr. Moyle were to lose, it would be a major shift at the State House. Also, in terms of the shift, all of the State House positions are open. So when we come back in January, there's a very good chance that we have a much different looking legislature. As we come now to ktvb.com, this is a great resource, but we want to take this full screen. We can show you this right here. Here on our list, we are watching closely Chuck Winder and Josh Kaiser. Right there, you can see very close, and then right above, Mike Moyle and his challenger. So you can go to the front page at ktvb.com. We have those for you, as well as other races here in the hot section. I do want to take a look, though, over at the Secretary of State's website. Our friends there have developed an unbelievably helpful tool. Let's take a look quickly here at the race between Kaiser and Winder. Again, you'll see there's a pretty small margin in between them, but from the west side, you can see that Josh Kaiser is doing a lot of his votes here on the west side. As you go to the east, though, that's more Chuck Winder territory. So it'll be interesting to see how that finishes up. A few other places we're taking a look at. Again, Mike Moyle, we were just talking about that, the split in between all of that. The north side seems to be really favoring Mike Moyle. And just as we wrap up, and I send it back to Brian here, we're also watching Wendy Horman's race here tonight. Brian, she is the co-chair of JFAC, Idaho's budgeting committee. A lot of power there. Her co-chair, Scott Groh, does not have a challenger tonight. So when you take a look at the big positions that are up for grabs, House Speaker, that position would have to be refilled if Moyle lost.
Right.
Senate Pro Tem would have to be refilled by a new leader if Winder went down. And then the JFAC, Idaho's very powerful committee, it would be interesting to have a change there as well.
And we're also looking at those statewide races. Mike Simpson right now currently leading in his race. That's part of the state in District 2 there for U.S. Congress. All right, thank you very much, Joe. We'll keep tabs as what is happening across the bottom of your screen. We're going to have the results from the election as they come in. It'll be at our website, as you heard Joe mention, ktvb.com. You can also follow us on social media and on the KTVB app. Tammy Daybell's aunt has sat in Ada County Courtroom 400 almost every single day over the past 7 weeks during Chad Daybell's triple murder trial. Vicki Hoban is making sure her wonderful niece is not forgotten. Chad is on trial for allegedly murdering his wife Tammy and two of his current wife's children. That would be J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan. Chad's attorney, John Pryor, called 5 witnesses today. Chad's son-in-law was back on the stand, followed by a forensic pathologist, one of Daybell's neighbors, and an investigator with the Idaho Attorney General's office, as well as a retired Rexburg police officer. Well, yesterday was a big day. We heard from 2 of the Daybell's children, Emma Murray and Garth Daybell. Hoban says she had a hard time watching their testimony.
I don't know, because there's so much control there. I think it would be really hard for anybody to think that their parent killed their other parent. I can't personally fathom that because I do believe that he did it, and I don't know anybody that doesn't believe that. So yeah, it's hard to imagine that. On the other hand, how, as a child, do you wrap your head around that? I don't know, because I've never experienced it, but I think there's enough out there that, you know, given the ability to separate themselves for a while and analyze it, I think they would come to that place.
Daybell's attorney says he plans to call more expert witnesses in the morning. Hoban hopes he rests his case tomorrow, but that remains to be seen. Still to come here on the News at 10. Part 2 of our series looking at extremism here in Idaho. We learn what might drive someone to embrace extreme ideas.
You'll need the rain gear for tomorrow. Rain showers and even some thunderstorms are in the forecast. I'll have those details coming up for you in about 10 minutes.
Tonight, we continue our series on extremist hate groups in Idaho. Last night, we heard how they are created and the threat they pose. Tonight, we take a look inside these groups and what drives people to these fringe and often violent beliefs. Here's Justin Core.
Yesterday, after discussing the rise of extremist hate groups in our state, we left with a question. What in the world would convince a person to embrace these sickening ideologies? Well, it most often has little to do with the ideology itself.
Well, I think polarization across the board is on the rise.
Tony McAleer is the president of the Cure for Hate Consulting Group, which helps people respond to the threat of violent white supremacist groups in their communities. He's also the author of the book, The Cure for Hate. He's an international speaker and has more than 10 years of experience helping people leave white supremacist movements behind. So how did Tony become such an expert on white supremacists? Well, he used to be one.
I said at the age of 20, I'll be dead or in jail as a white revolutionary by the time I'm 30.
Tony had, from what the outside looked like, a normal childhood, a middle-class family in an affluent neighborhood in Vancouver. While he says he does not blame anything on his childhood, he did point to some pivotal moments that shaped his future, like abuse at school and walking in on his father having an affair. He said he lost faith in authority figures and developed not just a need to rebel against everything, but a pervasive anger.
And sort of that anger and defiance and mistrust of authority sort of primed me for first becoming a skinhead and later joining the Aryan Nations.
The same Aryan Nations that plagued Idaho throughout the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s from its headquarters near Coeur d'Alene. He deeply regrets it now, but at the time,
it was exciting. The notoriety, the taboo nature of it. It's like, the guard towers and guys with machine guns and stuff. I mean, the to, a 19, 20-year-old brain and in the full throes of rebellion and defiance to authority, that was the ultimate place to go.
It was here in this Idaho compound that not just the Aryan Nations, but neo-Nazis, Klansmen, and other white nationalists came from across the country to convene, spread hate and violence. McAleer eventually moved on from this group to the even more radical white Aryan resistance. But why was he so attracted to it at all? He says he was able to get something back that he lost as a kid.
There was always these older father figure types in the movement, whether it be Pastor Butler or Tom Metzger or any of these things that gave me the attention and acceptance and approval that I could never get from my dad. I got a sense of brotherhood and community. I got attention when I felt invisible. I got acceptance when I felt unlovable, and I got power when I felt completely powerless and weak.
So if all that turned an average kid into a white supremacist, what turned that white supremacist into a crusader for love, acceptance, and compassion? He says it was the birth of his daughter and later his son that forced him to confront who he really was.
They saw this great, magnificent human being that was taking care of them. I didn't see that when I looked in the mirror.
He left those white supremacist groups and started working to get others out as well after finally confronting his childhood trauma. It's a trauma that he says is very common in those groups, which causes the members to hate themselves first before hating others. It's called toxic shame.
I truly believe the level to which we dehumanize other human beings is a mere reflection of our own internal disconnection and dehumanization. And we feel that we're not good enough, we're not worthy enough, we're less than human, we're not smart enough, pretty enough, we're not lovable. Whatever set of beliefs we pick up as a result of trauma, we project onto others as our way of dealing with it.
And the recruiters for those hate groups understand this, partly because this violent sort of coping mechanism is not unique to American hate groups.
There are a lot of commonalities between sort of Islamist-inspired terrorism and domestic terrorist groups in the United States.
Dr. Royce Hudson is a Boise State researcher who also has years of experience in the Middle East, working to understand why so many young men were joining Hezbollah and Al-Qaeda. He says there's often a strong religious component there, a warping of the scriptures, just like we see with hate groups here that claim a Christian identity, even though they are far from it. But mostly, they offer that same feeling of belonging, like what drew McAleer to the Aryan Nations, to people who have been excluded socially, economically, and culturally.
So they feel like somehow their community and themselves are being attacked. And then when they do hear narratives coming from other terrorist or violent extremist organizations and say, hey, look, you're not to blame for your particular lot in life. It's this group over here. It's these invaders coming from across the border, or it's Islamists coming across here and trying to invoke Sharia law. So it's the same sort of narrative, it's just flipped around.
So, we've talked about the rise of these hate groups and how people can be drawn to them. But what can we do as a community to stop all that? You're going to hear from local leaders about exactly how to do that in the final installment of this series. Back to you.
And you can see that story right here tomorrow night on the news at 10.
From News Channel 7, time for 7 First Alert weather.
Gardens will be getting a good drink of water between the overnight hours tonight and into tomorrow. We've got some moisture coming in from the coast, starting to fill in with some of these showers on the lighter side at the moment, but we expect this to pick up as we go throughout the next few hours or so. Moisture will be moving in from the west to the east. Along the front will be some stronger wind gusts, roughly 30 to 40 miles an hour. So here's what you'll experience in chronological order. We've got the rain first, then the winds with the front and behind the front as well. Then colder temperatures, dropping our high temperatures by about 10 degrees across the region, so we'll probably need a sweater tomorrow. So here's that moisture moving in the next few hours. You can see those western areas seeing the stronger showers first. Continues to move a little bit to the east, placing the stronger showers in Boise between 2 and 4 a.m. That continues to move to the east, and you can see some of those stronger showers. I think we'll lose a little bit of steam as that rain moves towards the Magic Valley. We've also got snow back in the mix right now. That those snow levels will start off quite high, but then they will continue to drop as we go through Wednesday to about 4,500 feet. And behind the showers, we'll see some scattered showers and thunderstorms possible tomorrow. So we may see some strikes of lightning. Stronger wind gusts could be associated with those. And when we talk about, in general, how much moisture we're expecting, when all is said and done on Thursday, we will see some higher snow totals for the higher elevation areas, roughly about 6 inches of snow, areas 7,000 feet and above. And you can see in general for the rain totals, mainly a valley healthy rain shower. So we're not talking about any kind of flooding, but just a nice drink of water for a lot of the gardens and lawns. So again, for tomorrow, a busy day with the rain. We'll also have some wind in play as well. And then in some of those mountain areas, we'll be seeing a little bit of a rain snow mix. Again, snow at the highest elevations and possible thunderstorms in the afternoon tomorrow. Overall, your 7-day forecast looking a little bit busy, but much cooler tomorrow, and winds and showers as well.
Real quickly, we want to tell you before we go to break, just into our newsroom, we have a first race called of the night. Incumbent U.S. Congressman Mike Simpson has been called the winner in the Republican primary. We're going to dive into some of the data of that race, plus some really close legislative races just on the other side of this break. We'll be right back.
I heard before the break at least one race has been called so far. Let's check back in with Joe Paris following all the action. Any other races we're keeping tabs on that you want to know about?
Yes, we're also going to keep a close eye tonight on the Ada County Commissioner's race, but let's get right back to the congressional race real quickly. We told you about this before we went to break. We'll show you here. Idaho incumbent Congressman Mike Simpson is going to be the winner. As you can see here on the screen, we're also taking a look at close races for Moyle and Winder seat. But back to the congressional race right now. You can see across Idaho, it's actually pretty fascinating. Most counties, you'll see them in the gray. All of these areas in gray were like pretty split counties. They were very, very close. You'll see, though, that Mike Simpson was able to pick up a majority of the areas there, so that race has been called. Over in the Ada County area, in the Ada County Commissioner races, want to take a real quick look at this. Ryan Davidson, as you can see in the green, he has a pretty good chunk of a lead over Clyde Dornier. So that one is getting closer and closer, but there's only so many votes out there left, as well as the incumbent Tom Daly. He is also in control. You can see Brandon Durst did have a smattering of different areas and precincts that you'll see in his area. Those are the gold colors there. I also wanted to tell you at ktvb.com, all of the levies we are keeping an eye on in your neighborhood and around the state. There's a lot of important education questions out there. Go to ktvb.com. We've got a special tab just for that. And Brian, just as I toss it back to you here, I just want to point out the Moyle race, Mike Moyle is about plus 500 right now. So with only one precinct left there, that looks like Moyle's in good control. However, his colleague on the other side of the rotunda, Chuck Winder, he is losing by about 250 votes there with only 3 precincts left. So some possibility of some major movement in the legislature into the night.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Also, West Ada is currently, levy is up, so is the Nampa transportation bond. So those are the two we're keeping an eye on as well. We will be right back. Newly released body cam video shows the moments 2 Boise police officers shot and killed a man last summer. Those officers were found justified in their actions. A Blaine County prosecutor says Corporal Johnson and Officer Miller acted in self-defense. The body camera video posted by the department is graphic, so we are only airing the portion just before the shooting happened. We're also not playing the sound or video of the actual shooting. In August of 2023, officers responded to a welfare check after 54-year-old Christian Johnson called 911. He had called 911 several times that day. Police say they were aware he was using methamphetamine. While responding to the welfare check, police say Johnson was behaving erratically and paranoid. When police got to the parking lot of an apartment complex near Ann Morrison Park in Boise, officers asked Johnson to drop his weapons a dozen times. Police say he did not listen. He later pointed a knife at himself and then ran towards police. That's when police shot and killed him. After reviewing the video, the prosecutors say it is clear Christian posed a threat of death or serious physical injury. We'll be right back. All right, Joe, there's a chance for some significant shakeups at the State House.
Yeah, and there's some very close races in the storyline of the Main Street Republicans versus the Freedom Caucus, whatever you want to call that group. Let's take a real quick look, though, again, as we called the race for United States Congressman Mike Simpson, the incumbent. He was the first race and really the only race we've called here tonight. Meanwhile, though, House Speaker Mike Moyle appears to be inching away towards a victory. His colleague across the rotunda, though, the Senate Pro Tem Chuck Winder, Brian, he looks like he could lose this race.
Another former leader, Megan Blanksma, also trailing in her race. All the results will be at ktvb.com throughout the night.